Hello again, this is UML Operator. All right, in this session we're going to be talking about manage baselines in Model. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the index help welcome page, show you in various videos on how to get here. It's the start tab. Over on the right of the tab, you'll see help. Just down click that and go to online help. So when you get here, what you're going to do is go to Modeling Fundamentals. You're going to go to Manage Model Change. And then from here, you're going to go to Baselines. All right. And from here, you can read through this material. We're pretty much going to focus on Manage Baselines and then this link right here, Manage Baselines in Model. And if I have time, I'll talk on Manage Baselines in Reusable Asset Service, or RAS. But I talk a little bit about this in that RAS video. I'll try to include a link to that here above as we proceed. So I'm here in our UML demo Sparx Cloud instance. I could be in the SQL instance and do exactly the same thing. We just imported this project from our local environment to SQL. That was done in a previous video right before this one. And we are going to baseline some packages in this demonstration. The first thing to understand is that you can be on any package that you want to baseline. So if you've got sub packages, you can literally pick a particular package in here and you can baseline here. So any level, all right? Any level. I could baseline here. I could baseline here at this parent. I could baseline here at this parent. I can even baseline at the root folder, root node entry right here. So let's pick a package that we do want to baseline, and we're going to building a data model. We're going to baseline this diagram, this package, and everything that's underneath it, right? And that could be other packages, and you'll see that in just a moment. Now there's a few ways to bring up the dialog box. The way that I do it is hitting Control key, Alt plus the Alt key, hold them down and hit B, right, for baseline. And it brings up this dialog box. There are no baselines in this at this moment. I'm going to go ahead and close this. You can always hit Help, take you right to the baseline directions. I'm going to hit Close. The other way to do that is go to Design, go to Manage, Manage Baselines. I'm on the package, so when I did that through the tab and the ribbon, it took me right to this dialog box. And then another way to do it is, which I love the most, outside of I can't remember the shortcut keys, is just type in baseline up here, takes you right to the folders or where they may be. We're going to choose this one, baselines, and we're going to select that. Brings up the dialog box. So you have multiple ways to get to it. The fastest one is just selecting what you want to baseline and hitting Control, Alt, and B. That's the fastest way. Okay, you have options to the right here. It's grayed out because we don't have any baselines to show differences against. We don't have anything to even restore back to a baseline, and I'll demo that in a moment. We're going to create a new baseline, and maybe I'll have time to touch on these other ones, but just select Help, and you'll learn about them there. So I'm going to select New Baseline, and this New Baseline dialog box pops up, and I always start 0.1. By default, it puts baseline date and time. You can type anything you want in here. I usually suggest that you leave the default, and then you might put something ahead of it, right? Or usually what I will do is a dash afterwards and do initial. Let me do this, initial baseline. I could put more, I could type War and Peace in here, but don't get too carried away because you really can't see it unless you get to the data another way. So I'm going to hit OK. It's going through that fast, and it created a baseline at this date and the time. And you can read here, you know, initial baseline. So you can read about this much by default. You can't size this box. You can try to play around with this here and size things, but other than that, keep it simple, leave the defaults that are in there, and then keep your notes short and sweet. You can type more in there for historical reasons, but in another advanced course, when we're accessing the SQL database for reporting and so on, I will show you the benefits of putting more data under your baseline, right? So now we have a baseline for this particular model. All right, so let's make some changes in this. All I'm going to do is some geometry. I'm just going to move this around a little bit. I'm going to bring in a new table because we're doing data model design right now. And I'm just going to call it new table, something like that. Typically what I do is PBL underscore, but I'll leave you to whatever convention that you want to do. And I could start bringing in some attributes, but that's not what this, and operations, but that's not what this video is about. This is the only change I'm going to make. I usually will double click in here and I will put in some sort of version, or if I'm over in properties, I can version right here and make other changes. All right. And let's do something else for fun. Let's hand draw this. Okay. And then I'm going to hit save. So I'm on this, and what I'm going to do is hit Control, Alt, and B, and we're going to create a new baseline. Right, 0.02, and then maybe dash brainstorming. Working with the architects, with the requirements, and we're designing our tables. All right, let me hit close, and let's do a compare. So we're in this model, and we want to see what changes we made over a period of time. So I'm going to select the package. I'm going to hit Control, Alt, and B. And what I want to do is I want to see what changed from the current model, not this 0.2 baseline, the current model all the way back to 0.1. Show differences. So it's going out right now and it's doing compare. And my baseline is right here in this column, and my model is in this column. Now I don't see any changes. Let's go to this table, and we can see that, well, this table didn't exist in the baseline. It exists in this current model. All right, let's look at what else. No tag values. When we brought it in, we brought in some new tag values. The green means new, by the way. This purple color, it's hard to see here, means something changed. So this is the actual model itself, the diagram. And you can see, hey, it went from 0.1 to 0.2. You can see that there at this date and time. So the baseline was on June 14th, and the model change was on July 8th. And it was really just some geometry changes. Nothing else really changed. These are just placements in the diagram geometrically where the elements are. So let's see what else changed. All right, so we changed this, basically meaning that this particular table, we moved from this geometric position to this geometric positioning, and we added a new table to the diagram. All right, so this is the diagram. You can see by the icon right here. This is the actual element. You can see by the element right there. All right, so that showed difference, extremely powerful in managing and understanding what's changing over a period of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this. We're going to hit Control Alt B again, and we're going to see what changes in this model have taken place since this last baseline on this date and time. So let's show difference. And there's no changes. Nothing's changed since the last baseline. All right, so we're going to close this. And what I'm going to do next is I want to turn off hand drawn. All right, so that's a change. And we're going to do another baseline. See how something simple shows up. So Control, Alt, and B for baseline. Create a new baseline, 0.3, right? And then I'm not going to put anything in here. Always include sub packages. Have that checked, because if there's any sub packages, namespaces underneath the package that you're baselining, it will also include those in the baseline. So I'm going to hit OK, and it's done. Now I've got another one. And I want to show differences to 0.2, right? So show differences. And you can see in the model, there's the model icon, there was a change. And we just made some style, see right here, style changes, right? So, and we may have made some, now the geometric changes might have been just a I tapped on something and it changed geometrically. Otherwise, it looks the same, right? So that's, how to see very simple changes. We only made one change to a diagram and you can quickly get to it. All right, we're going to close baseline comparison and we're going to go to the package yet again. And you'll notice that we've got 4 elements, tables, that are in this package. We added this one and we're going to hit on the package, Control, Alt, and B, right? This time we are going to fall back all the way to 0, 1. So restore to baseline. So I'm going to go ahead and select this and it gives you a warning. Information the database created for this item contains will be lost. Are you sure? Yes, I am. And there we go. Now we're back to, let me let it finish. There, it's cleaning things up. And now it's done. Going to go ahead and close this. We're going to open this back up. And you can see we restored back to the original point. We're back to 3 tables. All the other changes have been removed. All right, let's say that you want to go back to version 02 or version 03. We're going to select this. We're going to Control, Alt, and B. You can see that we still have these baselines. Let's first take it back up, restore to baseline 02. So I've selected it. I'm going to hit restore to baseline. Are you sure? Hit that again, running through and doing its processing. And there we go. It's completing. And I'm going to go ahead and close this. We're going to go back to our model. And there we go. We're back to hand-drawn mode. And we're back to the new table that we had added. Now let's hit, I got an axis here. That's because I inadvertently moved this. So let me just take it back, undo all the way back to the original. Let's hit Control, Alt, and B. And let's restore back to 03. Are you sure? And there it's going through and doing its thing. And it's done pretty much that fast. And let's go ahead and bring it up. And remember, all we did in 03 is we turned off hand-drawn mode. So that's how you can get back if you make a mistake and one of your teammates inadvertently deletes. That's why this method of versioning is the best practice and the best approach in Sparx Enterprise Architect. Let's go to 01 right here. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Yep, that's one. And we're going to export, right? So we're going to export this to this target folder, and I'm just going to call it baseline 01, right? Hit save, successfully saved. So you have something down here called compare model to file. So if I'm on this model right here or whatever baseline picture that I'm taking, compare to file. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to go to the one that we just did. I'm going to hit open and it's running through and doing a compare. So we added a new table, green new table icon. We added that. And the diagram changed when we added the table. So the diagram changed and here's the new table, right? Actually, this one was because we moved geometrically the positioning of that element and we added this new element. All right, what else do I want to touch on? Let me close this. Back here, I'm going to Control Alt B again. So we can delete a selected. So anywhere along the line, you can hit delete, right? So this one I'm going to, well, first let me export it. So I'm going to export this one, steal this name, change this to 02. Done, right? Now I'm going to delete 02, right? So delete selected, and it is gone, all right? All right, so let's import a file. I'm going to select import. We just did 02. I'm going to hit open. I get the new baseline, but we want it to be 02. Now it's going to have a different date and time. I'm not going to worry about that. And I'm going to hit OK. And it inserts 02 right here. So what I can do is I can show the difference. So let's look, let's show difference. There we go. You can see the diagram. Times look good. And style change. So we went from hand-drawn in the baseline to not hand-drawn in the current model, right? So let me hit Control-Alt-B again, right? And let's see, make sure options, don't mess around with any of these. Take a screenshot of what your defaults are in case you're doing some learning and some testing. You can suppress things within your baseline, but I leave all of the defaults here. I don't want to suppress anything. So except advanced properties, I don't care about. Right, yep. Enough on that one. Again, there's a help button there. I'll touch on load other baselines in a later session, right? Let's see, that's a little bit more complicated, more advanced. So I think this gets you started with understanding the power of baselines and versioning your models across your teamwork. All right, let's now go to Publish, Reusable Asset Service. We're going to log into our RAS. We're going to go to Model Training, and we have this particular model on 01. And we're going to find in browser, goes right to it because it's local. The RAS is local to where the model's managed. And let's bring it up. There we go. So what we want to do, we're going to go back to RAS. We want to right click on this, compare with package and model. We're going to select that. Yes, it's going through. And it's showing you that the baseline model, this table didn't exist in the baseline. Now the baseline in this case is RAS, right? It doesn't exist in this model. And go to content, double click. See, it doesn't exist in the sample diagram, right? So what else changed? The diagram, this is a diagram element. There's a dark blue or purple. Never know what that color is. Means that something changed. This green is new. Purple is change. Right? So the shopping cart moved geometrically and a new table was added. So the baseline in this case is the RAS instance, the RAS model, right? So you're able from your RAS repository, if you have that particular model local to the RAS, the SQL instance, you're able to compare from RAS. And I talk about that in the RAS video. So if you haven't watched that one, you can watch the video on Reusable Asset Service. All right, we'll close this model, we'll close RAS. And we're back to the main. You can baseline at, this is the RAS storage area, and I usually like that down to the bottom. You can baseline at a root node, Control-Alt-B. There's no baseline, create a new baseline, 01. These are for model admins that are managing the reusable asset service. You can create baselines. Sometimes I call them snapshots, but snapshot also means something else in Sparx. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. You can baseline again, as I told you earlier, at any package level. So in this particular case under pending, I have lots of different packages. So Control-Alt-B, create a new baseline for this e-commerce package. It's just this fast and simple. Put as much words as you want in here. I would probably leave the default text in here because that'll show up first when you're looking across your baseline. I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK. So you can see here in the notes, this shows up first, right? Now, if you add a lot more, it's going to get cut off unless you have a means of exposing that SQL data out of the database table, right? So let's see here, close. Anything else? I think I baselined this one a few times. Showed you how to restore back to baselines. If you make a mistake, how to bring them back because it's stored in the database. These are stored in the database, these snapshots. Once you do them and you can fall back to them if you make a mistake. You may want to fall back to one for a certain report or conversation and then ensure that you go back to the most recent because whoever baselined it, you don't want to mess them up because when they come back, then they go, hey, this isn't the diagram, and they're not going to know what you just did there, All right, another important thing for your backups is export the XML. I'll cover in another video other ways of versioning. I version my XML in my Git repository, and I manage the comparisons, those XML files, through my integrated development environment, my IDE. And there's lots of other tooling for managing XML. So have a convention for your different types of XML, your reference data, your patterns, your models, and just make sure that you're managing everything productively and effectively. Most importantly, effectively, because you don't want to lose anything or lose a bunch of work that someone else or yourself has already done. All right, I hope this video has helped you. It certainly went longer than I was planning. I wanted to keep it under 10 minutes, but we've gone over 20 minutes now. But I've just had a lot of people ask me about baselining and they wanted more details. Another video I'd made, they said, hey, you went too fast. So slow it down. I'll have chapters down below. You can go repeat, bookmark chapters that you want to fall back on, and so on. And of course, you've always got help. So hit the help key there. And Sparx is just really good about documentation and their learning aids. All right. So thanks very much for watching. Leave comments down below, good or bad, right? Ask questions. Let me know what you think, what you want to learn, and I'll try to get back with you. All right. Happy modeling.